Well, as I said, the first of the big banks' half-yearly profits dropped today, and it was Australia's oldest bank, Westpac. Westpac's net profit is down 1% in the latest half year to around $3.5 billion. Now, that's lower than the markets expected, mainly because the bank's net interest margin was squeezed up a bit by 2 basis points to 1.92%. Distressed loans, they're very flat, 1.36% of the total lending portfolio. And Westpac also will pay an interim dividend to shareholders, 76 cents a share. That is up 1 cent. Well, Anthony Miller was appointed as Westpac's chief executive last September and joins me now from its headquarters. Anthony, many thanks for your time. Oh, look, I can't resist but ask you just your reaction to the Labor Party's win in the federal election on Saturday night, the big mandate that they've quite clearly got, and what you sense are the first things they need to do as a very strong incoming government.
Well, look, first of all, congratulations to the Prime Minister and the team. It was a tremendous achievement and a very, very strong mandate for them. I think if there's one thing that I would call out from that election and what it means is that the continuity and the consistency of a return of government is a very, very powerful thing for this country at this point. The world is very uncertain, very unstable in many ways, and the fact that we can provide that level of continuity and consistency through the re-election of the Labor government is a very strong differentiator for us. So my main call, I think, would be to continue to focus on that consistency and certainty that their re-election provides, and make sure that foreign investors and others can see that this is a stable, certain and consistent environment in which to invest and operate.
There's a couple of other things also, and that is even the standard of living for Australians. If that's gone backwards in pretty much 8 of the last 9 quarters, that is a concern quite clearly that the government somehow has got to address, even though there's very strong employment. And your bad and doubtful debts, your distressed debt, is very low right now. So those people who've got jobs are coping somehow, aren't they?
Look, I've certainly acknowledged that it's been a difficult couple of years, and the cost of living challenges that people have faced has meant it's been a difficult time. But as I sit here today and I look at the performance of the bank, and I look at the performance in terms of bad and doubtful debts and delinquencies, etc., it would appear to be the worst is behind us. And so that's encouraging. Having said that, that doesn't diminish the fact that it is still quite challenging there in the marketplace. We're certainly still seeing consumers struggle with the cost of living challenges, but it does feel like the worst of it is behind us. Pleasingly, from our perspective, we continue to see a reduction in stress rates within our business bank, and that's really pleasing to see, because those small businesses, those small to medium enterprises, critical employers, critical drivers of activity in the economy, we can start to see and are starting to see some positivity there, some green shoots in terms of improving free cash flow, improving economic performance for those businesses, which I think is very encouraging for the outlook.
And that will only be aided by, if the market is correct, the 3 or 4 interest rate cuts that are likely to come from the Reserve Bank this year.
Yeah, certainly at the moment we're forecasting 3 more interest rate cuts this year in 2025. Certainly it's data dependent, and I think, speaking to my chief economist Lucy, what's clear is it's dependent upon the data. Having said that, I think everyone feels quietly confident that the Reserve Bank will lower interest rates in May. The challenge will be, in light of the global uncertainty, in light of the volatility, and in light of the risk to the data and to inflation, that those further rate cuts won't come through. However, at this point, we're holding our forecast of 3 more interest rate cuts this year.
Tell me about the competition in the banking industry right now, and particularly around that mortgage space. We know the volume of mortgages overall has dropped. That's increased the competition. Is there a sense that sometimes you don't do business simply because, in some ways, you just don't want to actually meet the competition with their pricing, with their conditions?
Well, certainly I would say, Ross, the mortgage market is intensely competitive, and I think it has been for a number of years now. I think most people in the industry would say that the return on mortgages would be below the shareholders' target cost of capital. And so therefore it is, in my mind, and certainly our experience is that it is very competitive. We've been very focused over the last 6 months of making sure that while we want to grow the business, we're certainly very focused on supporting our customers. We don't want that growth to be without finding balance in terms of getting return. And so we've been very focused on Are we growing in the right segments where we get the right return? Are we growing our first-party channel and improving the combination of first-party mix as part of our overall book? And so as I sit here today, in terms of our plans and our focus, it is to grow and grow as safely and as quickly as we can, but not without compromising return.
Well, as a new chief executive of Westpac, you've also set out goals for the future, aspirations for where you want Westpac to be. So some of them are for your net promoter score for consumers to go from number 2 to number 1 by basically 2029, for your business net promoter score to go from number 3 to number 1, and for institutional relationships also to go to number 1. You know, it's okay to write those down, but to actually achieve them sometimes can be quite a different thing.
No, that's a fair challenge, Ross, but that is our commitment. We want to be the best customer, the most customer-centric bank in the marketplace, and we've set our goals of delivering on that, and that, in our mind, requires that on the NPS score we're recognised as number 1. Now, what I would say is it's not a claim or a goal that was without foundation. Only a few years ago, we were number 1 in NPS in consumer, we were number 1 in NPS in business bank, and so it is a position we have had in the past, and it's about getting focused now and making sure we do all the work we need to improve the services and the products that we provide to the customers, and we do it in a way which delivers a better outcome for the customer. And so it's a way of galvanising and motivating and inspiring the company as a priority, and that's one that I've laid down. Pleasingly for me, in my first 141 days, everyone is very committed to delivering on that goal, and that's going to be our focus over the next 3 to 4 years, is to deliver that outcome of number 1 in NPS.